Hi folks, okay, today we're going to cover fitting your Gotek and doing a screen. So we're going to put a larger screen in this. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to show you how you do this by first of all telling you what you need. The STLs for all of these will be attached to in the description, or they'll be on the Facebook group. I've done 3 different versions. Hopefully that will make sense. So we've got the standard wedge version. I've got a tall flat version and a thin flat version. Yeah. So what I would suggest you do with these, I've tried printing them in various different ways, and to get the best finish on them, choose the side that's going to go towards the disk drive and print them vertically, like so. Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to print them that way up. That makes sense. Yeah. And generally here, the narrow side is the top, and the larger side is the bottom of the display. Okay, in here we have a 2.42 inch OLED display. I've tried various different ones, but the only one that I seem to have had any reliability with is the DIYMORE.CC one. So let's have a look, see if we can get this to focus. Hopefully it will. Yeah. So these are pretty good. They do have an annoying rattle when you buy them. I don't know if you can hear that. So what I do is I get on the back, and you'll see there's 4 little tags which hold the black bezel on around that. Straighten them out very gently. Don't be too brutal with them, because you've got to re-bend them again afterwards. Pop that bezel off, and you'll be left with the display hanging. Obviously be careful you don't damage the ribbon cable. Quick dirty solution to it. Got a bit of insulation tape. Stick it on that. Put your bezel back. Press it down, bend your tabs back round. Okay, but the thing with these displays, I don't know if you can see this. It's still rattling a bit. Look, hear it? So we'll have to add more tape. The thing about these displays is they come set for SPI. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if it will focus. Let's see if we can get it to focus. So there's two protocols here with these boards, or with these displays. I2C, which is what the Gotek uses. Hang on, I'll get it to focus in a minute. I2C and SPI. Now, on these displays, you need to move R4 into the R3 position. You need to bridge R5 with a 0 ohm resistor. A 0 ohm resistor, for anyone who doesn't know, is just basically a short, so you can just put a bit of wire across there. And R7 down here where my finger is you need to bridge that as well with a 0 ohm or just a short. The reason we have to do that one, R7, is if you don't, the reset doesn't work. So it will just constantly faff about when you're trying to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plod away and do that first, because you need to prepare that. Now if you're using either the tall flat, or you'll have enough room to put a header in there. If you're using the shallow flat, because you want to pack it into a case at times, you're going to need to solder your wires directly in. Yeah. Otherwise there isn't enough room in that with a header and then cables on top of it as well. So just solder direct if you're going to use the shallow one. Okay. Right, I'm going to plod away and prepare this, and then I'll show you what you need to do inside your Gotek. Okay, we're back. Right, so as you can see, I don't know if you can see that clearly, so I've put a link across R7 here. I've moved R4 to R3 position, and R5 I've bridged. If you can see here, so for SPI it needs to be on R4. For I2C we need to have R3 and R5 shorted. So yeah, we move R3 to R4, yeah, which is for, and you short R5, and then you have to short the reset pin as well. Now these displays come with a block of headers. Just put the 5 in that you need, which is ground, VCC, SCL, SDA and RES. Ground is obviously ground, VCC is your voltage, SCL is your clock, SDA is your data, and RES is a reset. So every time the display has to roll over, it needs to have a reset. So that's all provided within the Gotek, which we'll move on to now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take apart the Gotek now. So Chris Poacher, if you're watching, close your eyes, because you're not going to like this. I'm sure you'll be fine. So what we're going to do is we take a Gotek apart like this. It should be 3 screws. There you go. That's an annoying sticker, Chris. But it works, does its job. So we're going to have 3, and then there'll be another one under here somewhere. If you bought it from CPC Magnetic, then this is exactly how it will be. He's also added stuff across here. So as you peel it open, what you'll see in here is you'll see your cables to your display, which are already there. It's your original display. You'll see pins here for your display driver. Yeah, and down here on this bank here, this very furthest one, I don't know if you can see it, right there, is a reset. So what we need to do is we need to solder a wire for a reset into there as well. And then basically all we're doing is paralleling these back out to the new display that we've created. So let's crack on with that. What we'll probably find is it's all been hot glued down, which is always great. Not too much problem. Okay, we've got a different type of rotary encoder in this one. This is a new type, different to the one that I previously had before. So yeah. Yeah. So we haven't got a reset pin on this one, but what we have got is that one is the SCL, and that one is the data. So when you're looking here, onto this board here, this pair here, the first pair, on J7. The lower one is going to be your 3 volts, your VCC. Your upper one is going to be your ground. Then we are going to have on the other one here, next 4 pins over, the data SDA is at the bottom and SCL is at the top. So, I don't know if you can see in there. So, what we're going to do basically is we're going to take these wires here, we're going to cut them and we're going to parallel them. Simple as that. So all we're going to do is run two displays in the same setting. I think these are 128 by 64, I believe, but I'm going to have to check on that. But I'm pretty sure they are. So anyhow, first thing we need to do is we need to put a reset in, which we're going to have to put in right in the corner there, and then we're going to parallel these over. But what I'll do is I'll get on and I'll do all of that and show you how I've done it after I've done it. Okay, sometime later. Okay, what I've done is all I've done here, I don't know if you can see that, let's zoom in a little bit. All I've done is I've taken the VCC, the ground, the SDA, and the SCL, and I've just basically paralleled them off. So all I've done is extend them out, like so, using small Dupont cables. Lots and lots of them. So if you know what Dupont cables are, just using these. Yeah, so male females or male males, you can buy them, there'll be a link in the description. And on the display I've just done exactly the same. So the colours there will match the colours here, and I can just connect those straight into there, like so. Yeah. So I have a reset, an SDA, an SCL, a VCC and a ground. Okay, and the same here. Now if you've got an older Gotek that's got a smaller display in it, the resolutions needs to match to do this. So these are, I believe, 128 by 64. If you've got a smaller display in there, which we'll explain later in the initialization file for the Gotek, we can tell from there. But if the two displays don't match, you can't have this one running in parallel with that one. What you'll have to do is just basically run it from there to this display and ignore that display. Yeah. But if they match, so if the resolution of this one is the same as the resolution of this one, you can run them in parallel. So this one will work at the same time as this one. So what we're going to do now is this needs to go into here. So there's a little notch at one end. Make sure we're the right way up. Now these are obviously mass produced, and what you'll find on the ends, there's a little bit of flap that I haven't cleaned off. You might have to file the end of the board down a little bit just to get it to go in. They do go in when they're in. Make sure it's in the right height when it goes on, like so. Press it down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to back all this up with a bit of hot glue, just to stop it coming off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put all this back together, hot glue this down, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I've done. So we're back. As you can see, all I've done is put a bit of hot glue inside, just to hold it into place, and then I'll just put some sticky back tape here, double-sided tape to hold it on when we're ready. Gotek's been put back in its carrier, and all we're left with is a few wires hanging out the back of it like so now. Yeah. And those wires are colour coded and will match what I've got on the display. So next thing is to drill a hole in here. So what we're going to have to do is we have to take the end cover off the end of our outer, So that's going to go onto there. So what we need to do is we need to mark that hole first. So we've got Sharpie somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So, okay, so get it where you want it. Figure out where your cable's coming out. There should be a little dimple in the thing. And then give it a mark. Yeah. And then it's a case of drilling a suitable sized hole to get your cables through and your fittings. What I generally tend to do is take this off before I do it. It just makes it easier and more sensible. Comes off. Just put that away. So I've got a mark there. I can see where it needs to be. Go about here. Looks fairly brutal, but when there's nothing else in there, it's all quite safe. So it should end up with a little hole in there. I don't know if you can see it. Should better highlight it through the white stuff. Yeah, that should be big enough. That's a 10mm drill bit I put through there, so that should be more than adequate to get all your cables through. Just gonna have a little clean up, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, this bench tidy again. So let's put this back into here. So let's put our Gotek in. Also, let's put the display on. Pop all our wires through. Always make sure I've got male ends on here, because if it does come disconnected, then there's nothing coming back, or no live wires, or no weird. They're shielded if they do come disconnected. The likelihood of that is pretty remote, but you never know. That should come down to there, like so, which it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for now. I'm not going to glue it down or anything. I'm going to flip it over. Just leave that floating free there for a moment whilst I put this in. Just to make sure my cables are going to reach and do whatever they need to do. Yeah, which I'm hoping they're going to. Okay, now it's a simple case of connecting red to red, blue to blue. In my case, well, depending on what colours you've used, but white to white, purple to purple, orange to orange, etc, etc. What I tend to do is, as I go along, I just put a bit of tape around each one, just to stop them pulling apart, just in case. Job done. Now we need to flip this over. Add some double-sided tape to the bottom of here. Okay, make sure your cables are all in the right places. Look at that. Flip it over, the excess cable should disappear inside. and stick it down. There may be a better way of securing that long term. It may be better to actually screw up from underneath, but I'm trying to avoid drilling any holes in the metalwork. But it's on that. It's not going anywhere. It's got a bit of bash protection because it'll move about. But it could probably do with being a bit more secure. Okay, so that's all done. In theory, it should just now be a case of putting the machine back together. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. It's on, and the display's lit up, but oh my goodness, it's upside down. Now your first instinct's going to be that you've fitted the display in the upside down. You haven't. Okay. You can flip it over in the software, and what I'm going to do now is I'll go through it. I've added a SCSI chip to this one. I've just changed the display, and I've done this large display app as well, and also the contrast is a bit high there, and we need to flip it over. So what I'm going to do is we will go into the software, the Flash Floppy software, and we'll show you what you need to change in order to put it right. But we still have noise, we're still good, everything's working. Now all we need to do is alter the configuration file so that this knows, or the Gotek knows that this is a SCSI system, so it'll boot off the right software. So let's get into that. Okay, so now I'm in here. Now I'm only going to do this on an old XP machine because I'm basically, this is what I use for doing everything, so we'll do it on here. I use this one for copying off old disk images using a program called XC Floppy, which is very good. And I may later on do a little thing on how to show you how to transfer your floppies to USB by using it. But it's a very, very useful program. And if you go through CPC Magnetic to get your Goteks, it comes with a copy of it ready for you to use. So that's brilliant. Okay, so into my computer, let's go to what I've done is I've taken the USB stick out of the Gotek, and it's now in here. So let's have a look, see what we've got. So in here we have what's called an FFCFG file, yeah, which is the original file for configuration of the Gotek when it fires up. If you move this stick to another machine, it'll try and load the software that's in it. So let's go into that. You can open it just using Notepad, and you can do whatever. You can alter it, edit it using Notepad, and just save it back as whatever you want. So startup initialization. There you go. Disk image ejected, loaded, start. Which image is selected at first? Yeah. Call it. So blah blah blah. It should be somewhere in here. Let's go down and find the display. Here we go. Right, so display. It's a 128. We're using an OLED 128 by whatever, so we're telling it that it is at the moment auto detect OLED. Yeah, okay, so display type OLED 164. Everything up here is telling you what it's doing. Yeah, so we're telling it it's OLED. Yeah, and we've inverted it, or we're inverse, and we've rotated it. So do we want that? No, not necessarily. So we don't want it inverted necessarily, do we? Yeah, because I've got a white on black, so I want that. Yeah, so I'm not worried about the rotate. I need to get rid of that. So what we do is we do that. Let's put that back in. We do that. So we can make the text wider or narrower, we can reverse it, so black text on white, inverse is reverse. So you've got black text on white background. There is a contrast somewhere, let's have a look. Contrast value 220, no wonder it's so. So I'm going to go about 100 on that and we'll see what that looks like. Let's lower the contrast on it, make it a little bit nicer. So we can do other things like turn the OLED off after a certain amount of activity. At the moment it's set for 160 seconds. I'm not worried about that. I would rather have sort of like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. Let's go 45 seconds. And then what that will do is that will allow us to if you just move, basically if you just move the encoder or do anything, it will just light back up anyway. So after 45 seconds of you not touching it, it's going to blank itself out, which is perfect because that's going to make it last longer. Let's go into the next one. Hopefully this is all visible on screen. So basically what we're altering under display. We're making sure that our OLED is the right size that we want. So there's various things. So we got OLED 128 by 64, which is the DIYMORE one we're using. Now we can either inverse it, so we can have white on black or black on white or green on white or whatever. Whichever colour you decide to buy, you decide which it is you want. Yeah. I have taken out the rotate command because it was upside down, so we want it to be back. Yeah, so there's a rotate there. Rotate is 180 degrees, so I've taken out the rotate command. So when this fires up, it's going to go display type OLED 120/64, and the text is going to be inversed. And then down here under turn LCD or OLED display off after n seconds of activity. Yeah, it gives you a little explanation, and at the bottom it says display off seconds 45. That's what I've changed that to. Now what we need to do is we need to find the file, the image that we want recorded in image A CFG. So that is correct. So what we need to do is we need to save that, yeah, and that should have saved that back to the disk now, or back to the stick. So if we go to image A, you'll see it will say operating system 110. Yeah, we don't want 110, we want 107. Yeah. So we want to go operating system, and in here we will find 107 SCSI. So we want W30 system 107 SCSI OS. Yeah. So I need to go back into image A here, and I need to go 107 space SCSI. Right. If I wasn't using a SCSI chip inside the machine, what I would be doing is I would just be using probably one item or 110, 1.10. Yeah. So that should now be saved. If I go back, save that. Alright. I close that. So in here as a save system, I should have that. In image A, notepad. If I go into, there's all sorts of things. See that again, initial A. We don't necessarily want initial, so we go to FF. Let's go down. FS flash floppy configuration, blah 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 blah. There's all sorts of other things in here that you can faff about with. I wouldn't faff about with too much if it just works for you. So, startup, initialization, disk image loaded or ejected at startup. No. Yeah. We don't get ejected on startup, we just say we leave that in no. Which image or folder is selected at startup? So we can have last item at power off, recorded in image A CFG. Yeah. Static path specified in initial. Right, so it's going to go into the static, so it's going to go into initial. Yeah. So in fact I've done that wrong. So image A is where it is whatever was last, the last one you loaded. So what we need to do, so here it says image on at startup equals static. And static path specified in init a CFG. So I need to go back into here, operating systems, check it again, just make 107 blah 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 scuzzy, just make sure I've got the right file. Let's go back, and I need to go into initial A, and I need to change this one. Yeah, 107 space SCSI scuzzy, like that. Okay, and then we need to file, save that, save. So that should all be on our initial A now. So 107 SCSI is on initial A, and in Flash Floppy, we go down to here, it's going to tell it, oh, blah blah blah. There's various things you can change, so display type, etc., etc. Like that. We should have covered it. So we need to change the display to suit the size of the OLED we're using. We need to change the initial A to cover the operating system we want to use at boot up, and we also, I've altered with the contrast just to make that display a little less bright, and so there's less lines in the background, but it really depends on which one you're going to use, and then you'll just have to fiddle about and do whatever it is you need to do to make it work, if that makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to close this down. Now we're going to take out the floppy, also not the floppy, the USB stick. Alright, and we'll put it back in the machine and we'll see what happens. So here we go. So now in theory it should be the right way up, and it should be a little darker, and it should fire up on 1017, which is the SCSI boot system. There we go. There we go. So it's firing off 1107, and it's doing exactly what it says it's supposed to do. I might actually invert that the other way around, just purely because I don't like the white on black, black on white. I prefer it to be the other way around. Although my display here is white on black, if you can see. Is it actually going to focus? There you go. So anyhow, right, can you see it's gone blank now? It's waited 45 seconds, it hasn't had anything happen to it. So if we want to bring it up, you just click that up, click the rotator once, instantly lights up again. 45 seconds again, it will go dark. That's perfect. All that's doing is it's going to save our system, or save our displays. Yeah, if you can set it a bit longer if you want. I'm not worried. Okay, that's about it, folks. Hopefully all files will be somewhere hosted, and I'll have to put a link to them on in the description. The STL files will be on there for all the modules. I'm going to put them up on the Facebook group W30 modifications page. Hopefully they'll put them up on there, and they'll be an easy grab. I would recommend highly that you join that group if you've got a W30 and you're going to do this mod. Loads of really useful information on there. Again, if you're unsure how to take your machine apart or anything else, look through my channel, and there should be now a complete collection of how-tos with regards to W30. As for the musical element of it, I can't tell you a lot, but I can tell you how it works. Okay, have fun, people.